Welcome to the Sap Entertainment Show, where I interview singers, rappers, entrepreneurs of all walks of life. And today's special guest, we have a talented entrepreneur by the name of Brytney Reaves. How you doing today?
Hello, Miss Sarah. I am hot in every way.
It's been hot. Yes, it's been extremely hot out here. So, let the world hear your story.
Well, what part of my story would you like to know? Because I got a lot to say. So if you want me to
Who you are, where you're from, everything.
Okay. I am a Brytney Reaves, and I am a poet, writer, entrepreneur, professional person. I like to call myself an asset allocation specialist, mainly because I have knowledge in a lot of different areas that I help people with. Right now, I'm actually being a writing coach for someone who's looking for some support with that. I work with websites. I help people find affordable business solutions online to keep presenting themselves digitally. I help people organize their marketing strategies and implementing campaigns. I'm helping my nonprofits raise money. So there's just so many different things that I do, but based on what you consider an asset, you can say, well, hey, Brytney, I do A, B, C, D, F, G. How can I turn this into somebody? Like, what are some ideas? I'll go, oh, okay, you do this. And then I got a whole strategy in like 5 seconds. So I call myself an asset allocation specialist to just kind of sum up all that I do. But as far as art is concerned, I'm a poet primarily.
Okay. So where are you originally from?
Los Angeles. I'm an LA native. Not a transplant, a native.
That's what's up. So what inspired you to want to be a poet?
Music. What they call deep listening. I did that a lot in my childhood. Meaning I was the kid that would lay on the floor with the radio playing and just listen to the music. I didn't realize I was studying it at the time, but I was always intrigued by composition, whether it be in music or words. And it wasn't until I was about, I'd say 12. I wrote my first poem called Poetry. And it was also the same year that I went on AOL.com, back in the day.
Yeah.
When dial-up was the thing. And I found Poetry.com. I'm searching things. I'm like, what's out there for poetry? And of course, Poetry.com came up. And that was a site where you could submit poetry to get it published in an anthology. And I got one of my poems published for the first time. It was called Trouble. I don't remember what it was about. It's like some fictional adult experience. And I was like, publish it. And so that's how I got published at age 12.
That's what's up. Do you come from a literary background?
I'm going to say yes. Because the first photo my parents have of me is with a book. A bright thing. I wasn't one of them babies that would read books upside down and be like, goo gaga. Like, nah. I had the book straight up and was like, call me Ishmael. But I was fascinated with books at an early age, so I was always reading. And being an only child, my imagination was my best friend. So allowing the book to take me to places. I know it sounds super cliche or whatever, but it's a thing.
That's what's up. So what writers did you enjoy reading the most?
That's a good question because I don't have just one. I used to get anthologies as a kid. Now, of course, Dr. Seuss was like the first rapper I ever read. But outside of that, though, and Berenstain Bears books and, Disney books or whatever, I used to actually get collections of books. I don't know what publisher it was, but I knew that they had probably like 10 to 15 books in their whole series. And it was almost like um, encyclopedias, but I had the books out of that series that had stories for children. I had the book that had activities that you could do with kids. Um, I had one of my favorite books that I keep to this day is the way that they organized it was from different parts of the world, different parables and stories about, morals and stuff like that. And then there was another book that had songs. It was songs and limericks and things like that. And so it wasn't just one author that intrigued me the most. I mean, I do have memorable experiences with certain authors more so than others, but I don't just have one favorite author.
That's what's up. That is what's up. So, do you find writing easy?
No. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have experience. So, there's certain parts of it that do come easy. But writing itself, people forget that it has everything to do with you. So if you are not practicing self-awareness on a regular basis, it can be difficult to write very well. You can write anything. You can write your name right now.
Right.
But, to actually put thoughts together on paper, you have to critically think. You have to plan. You have to have a bird's eye view of certain things. You have to have a certain hold on a concept that you want to explain. And then you have to have the wherewithal to say it in a way that's palatable and within the format that you're using to explain yourself. So There's so many rules, there's so many, and even if you are taking creative license with things, there's still certain things that you consider, when you're writing in, different ways versus, like, example, an essay versus a poem, or a rap versus a song, right? So based on just what it is that you think you're writing, and then the confines of that, structure, and then of course, having a grasp on the subject enough to really thoroughly explain it in a way that is enjoyable or understandable. That takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of critical thinking and just awareness. Because if you're convoluted in yourself and you're just every which way and you can't seem to write it out, which is why they also say journaling helps, because when you write it out, you're getting clear of a lot of things. So imagine somebody who never picks up a pen trying to tell their life story, for example, and they're like, what do I write? That's because they've kept it all up here, like, all this time, So practicing writing is not easy, only because it requires a certain level of reflection that the average person just doesn't do.
Exactly.
That reflection isn't always easy.
So explain your creative process.
Well, it depends on what I'm doing. I'm a creative in many aspects. I like to draw. I like to dabble with graphics. I like to make spoofs of different songs. At one point, I mean, I really just go with whatever inspires me at the moment. So if I'm listening to, I think it was, what's a good example? No Bullshit by Chris Brown. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously talking about, relationships. Midnight, I'm inspired to write a spoof about going out late, trying to get to the drive-through, and you don't have your wallet. How you convince them to give you food?
Exactly.
That has nothing to do with what the song is about. But I was inspired to write a spoof about it, and make like a little slideshow video. Like, oh yeah, this is great. Recorded the whole thing on my computer. Horrible recording, by the way. But it was just something that I wanted to do. I was like, oh, this is super cool. And this was before spoofs was like really a thing. So I was like, wow, this is funny. And then that was it. you know, but then I have other moments where I'm inspired to write a poem, and next thing you know, I'm writing a book of poetry, and it becomes that, you know. Sometimes I realize, hey, this is more of an essay than a poem or a story. Well, then I'm going to write the essay, you know. So based on what I'm writing, my process changes.
That's what's up. So what obstacles did you have to overcome to get this far in your life?
That's a very broad question with no specific answer. Might want to hone that one down a bit.
I'm sorry.
like what's a more specific question? Because there's a lot of obstacles in everyone's lives that eventually get us to where we are today. So like, what specifically are you wanting to know?
I guess when I ask the question, they give me like their most harsh one. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you're asking me, what is the most painful moment of my life that was a catalyst for who I am? So I'm having a hard time with that, because if that's the case, you should read the autobiography that I haven't written yet. You know, because I mean, there's a lot of obstacles. You know, there's family obstacles.
Yeah,
there's, you know, the guy who I was trying to get a job at a donut shop just to try to see if I can make some money. The Asian dude, Asian run in Oakland. Go in there. I'm like, hey, you have a for hire sign in there. Can I get application? Oh no, we already hired someone. So why is your for hire sign still up when I leave? To say the most impactful, I guess obstacle, that I could name would be my parents' divorce. And that's only because as I got older, because I processed things very logically, even in the midst of trauma, right? And it wasn't until I was an adult that I was like, ooh, where is this coming from? Why am I acting like this? Or why did I respond this way to this person? Or why didn't this register as that? And what is this? And then when I sit with myself, it's like, well, your parents. I'm like, again, like, I thought I was over this, you know, and it just keeps showing up. So I would say that's probably like the hardest obstacle to thoroughly just blast through, because as an overachiever, I'm like, oh, this the problem? All right, boom. Let me bust through it. But then it's like, aha, I still have a bigger part inside of me that you haven't even breast through yet. You haven't broken this barrier. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, bet I see you. Then I break that outer shell just to see there's another little tiny part inside. Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm getting tired of you, bro. You need to get out of here. But that's probably like the most impactful obstacle that I've ever faced.
So that's what I like to put the artist on the spot. Do you mind giving us a little piece?
I can give you a very little piece. It's a haiku. That's as little as it goes. It's called Ain't Shit. Before I even say it, let me ask you this question. What do you think it's about?
Well, what's
it's
the title?
Ain't Shit. That's what it's called.
Ain't shit. Exactly what is the title. It's you ain't shit. World ain't shit. Everything.
You know, okay. So this is the haiku. It says, ain't shit free out here. Ain't shit boys and ain't shit girls out here free as fuck. The end.
That's it? What?
That is the corny part of myself exposing itself. Like, it's the funniest joke that I've ever written, and it's a haiku, which means it's poetry. It's still valid. If you count it, I got my 5-7-5 syllables going on. You know what I'm saying? I followed the rules. But it's funny because at the end of the day, there's so many different ways to express even the deepest of emotions. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's the pun, because when I say ain't shit free, you're thinking like, you know, favors or bills or cars. And I'm like, no, people out here ain't shit, just giving away their ain't shitness for free, like everywhere you go.
For real.
So it's kind of like a little play on words too. But ultimately I use haikus as a test when I'm writing poetry to see how can I encapsulate a deep emotion in such a short format. That makes sense. Because you're limited to 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. And then, of course, there's other types of haikus where it's even shorter, So, yeah, that's one of my haikus. It's in a book that I haven't published yet. It's in the works. Formatting it now for ebook and print book distribution is called Open Eyes. And it's under my pen name, Queen X, the poet.
Okay, so what do Queen X mean?
I'm glad you asked. It's actually a shortened version of my whole name, which began as Exodus the Poet. And I added Queen in front of it, not because it's 100% of who I am at all times, but it's because it's who I aspire to be at all times. Mm-hmm. And so Exodus is actually written with a lowercase e, capital X, and then the rest is lowercase, and then there is a period before the E. The reason being, in high school, I met this woman, Etsuko Kubo, Japanese, and she told me, she's like, the reason why our last names are the ones capitalized is because it's our family name and it's, the most important part of us, not the individuality that comes with our first name. And I was like, oh, that's dope. So when I wrote, and then they said, with the period is to show that like that's where I began. And so instead of it being me and then that's it, it's like, no, this is the time that I'm at, and then here I am. And so from my beginning, it's a lowercase e, it's a capital X to represent the importance of the unknown. And the entire name Exodus, mainly because I feel like I'm constantly coming out of the old me and the old paradigms that don't serve me anymore. I forget whether it was Peter or Paul, but he said, I die daily, and that stuck to me because it's like, it's not physically dying, but you're literally killing off the parts of you that are no longer serving you. And if you're growing every single day, then that's a lot of killing you got to do.
For real.
You got to shed your jealousy. You have to shed your anxieties. You got to shed your perspectives of people that don't serve you or don't serve them. There's so many different things that bombard us day to day that we just got to kill off. And if you're familiar with the book Exodus in the Bible, it is about, this mass movement of people coming out of a very dire situation. And to me, dying daily is that spiritual movement of myself coming out of the paradigms that are trying to hold me down. And so as me and all that I am, the God in me and everything else, I'm like, can we just all come together and just be out of that situation? But mind you, through life, as we go into that situation or go out of one situation, we're into another. And when those paradigm walls start to form, you're like, no, you're not about to box me in. Now you got some killing to do. You gotta knock them walls down and make another Exodus, and then yet another Exodus. And so with that meaning in mind, I stuck with Exodus the Poet, but then I just shortened it to Queen X.
That's what's up. That is what's up. So how many books you currently have published right now?
2, actually. And believe it or not, none of them are poetry.
What are the titles?
The first one is actually called Hidden Moments. Unfortunately, the algorithm on Amazon hates me, so you have to actually fully type in Hidden Moments by Queen X just to find me. But it's actually an anthology of short stories. Again, me and the anthologies. It's fiction. And it started out actually being erotic fiction. But then I decided to just put stories that I thought were important in there. And so, like, there's one that addresses domestic violence. It's called When Water Meets Earth. There's one that addresses racism.
Mm-hmm.
And it, to me, it's one of my favorites. It's called Watermelon Man Syndrome.
Oh,
And
wow.
the concept behind that, I don't know if you're familiar with the 70s movie Watermelon Man. Have you seen it?
No.
It's about a white guy who's like super racist and he wakes up black. Hilarious, right? Look at that face.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. So in regards to people of color, I call it Watermelon Man Syndrome because of the code switching, because of the dual consciousness that we have to face every day. You know, you got Tyrone, tall and black with dreads in an office building full of whites and Asians, trying to minimize himself to fit in, but still be that person he knows he wants to be. And he's dealing with microaggressions from two different white women, one in his office who's his boss, you know, that Starbucks holding Karen type of young chick.
Mm-hmm.
And then the white girl who's just supposed to be his friend, you know, the Beverly Hills influencer type. She's all like, yeah, you know, I'm progressive and we should totally date and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, girl, that's problematic. What do you mean? And when she doesn't get it, he does what I would like to do in real life when it comes to those situations, which is like, let me put you in a position to where you feel emotionally attacked by everything that me and my people have to deal with, even if it's just for this moment, you know.
Right, exactly.
It's like stories that are important like that. Of course, there's some romantic stuff in there, you know, for the grown and sexy, but there's probably like 13 different stories in that book. And then the second book is called Fuck Low Days and Other Sentiments.
Right.
F word is blanked out. It's actually I want to say a collaboration with Pear-Shaped Press. After experiencing bouts of depression throughout my life, one time I woke up last year or maybe a year or two ago. I was like, oh, this is hard to wake up, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck low days. And I'm like, sometimes you got to just take that aggressive approach to it, you know, because if you're like, depression, can you please leave me alone? Psych. You know what I'm saying? And so, but when you take that stand, like, bro, get the fuck back. Like, what do you mean? Well, he's going to pay attention, you know? That spirit is gonna be like, what you like? Are you bucking at me? Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? And then of course, adding other spiritual things that you can do, like prayer, meditation. But to encourage those things to happen, I thought, what if I put together a book that highlighted what it meant to overcome depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts?
Exactly.
Instead of glamorizing what it meant to be depressed. Because I don't need nobody else to know what it's like to be depressed. All you need to know is that I'm not feeling well, how to help you. Because if I introduce you to what it means to be depressed, that opens the door for you to experience it spiritually. I don't need that. That causes shootings and rapes and a whole bunch of stuff, you know. So it's like, let's just not focus on that at all. Let's acknowledge that it's there, but let's also acknowledge the tools that it's going to take and the strategies we have in place to get over it, or to minimize it in such a way that we manage it and not it manage us. Exactly. And so I put together a photo book with Pear-Shaped Press, who's a woman-owned indie press. I basically came up with the idea, and so now that's their second book as well. I participated in their other anthology. It's called Teenager's Guide to Feminism. And I have some pretty controversial feelings about that as well, written out in that essay. But you can get both of those books on Amazon. The Teenager's Guide to Feminism by Pear-Shaped Press, Hidden Moments by me, and then the collaboration between us called F Low Days and Other Sentiments. It's a red cover with a middle finger up. And it's by women who have dominated depression and anxiety. You know, so it's women contributors providing poetry, essays, quotes, selfies. We had two female photographers who are amazing. Desi White and Tabs, the photographer. She's been doing a lot of work with this trumpeter that actually was in Beyonce's band during the Super Bowl, Rick James. She's also a rapper. So it's just a lot of women supporting women, even if those women haven't experienced depression themselves. So it's a really beautiful project. Very proud of it. We're actually having a launch event October 8th out here in LA.
Before we end this segment, what could we be looking forward to from Miss Queen X?
A lot, actually. Today I'm actually taking a break from writing, to do this interview. I'm working on a book, co-writing with a friend of mine. Her story is amazing. We're working on her memoir. And I'm also working on a self-help book dedicated to exploring the process that I've used during those depressive times, or those times where you just feel low and you're like, how do I don't even know anything. When you start feeling like that, especially through COVID, people could use this. I'm a little late, y'all, forgive me, but I'm writing that process out in a self-help book, and that'll be the springboard for my public figure coming out of things type of deal. It's going to be a web course tied to understanding the principles there, and it's also going to be a book that you can use to supplement it. And then, of course, my poetry book, Open Eyes, that's being formatted now. You can expect that. I'm debating if I'm going to do it in December or January. I don't know if I want a 2022 date or a 2023 date, but it's coming. Between that and I've been asked to do a lot of audio book or audio recordings for like indie artists here and there. So you might hear me somewhere, well, no, that's that one chick. Yeah, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm just trying to be heard. So that's what's coming up.
Okay, you guys heard it first. Thank y'all for tuning in to SAP Entertainment Show with me, your host, Sarah Soulstress, and your girl, Miss Brytney Reaves, aka Queen X. And make sure y'all like, subscribe, and also stick around because I'm gonna leave y'all with one of her pieces. Bye-bye for now.
Ta-ta.
Superiorjay. His dexterity was heavenly with verbs for digits. His ebony momentarily stunned my vision. Then his lips offered a sip, drunk with insights. Foreplay was lit, I admit, then we took flight. Drinking of his fifth was suckling wisdom, honeycombed with thoughts of loving his kingdom. Vibes, rippled star patterns high from lack of gravity, less departed when lips gushed off its depravity. I became transparent. Worlds away, my dismay was clear. My translucent self needed help to appear. In recompense, false evidence was removed. His light had the might to pass through. I found myself embracing this vulnerable state in a place where his mind and mine transcend to all times. This Superiorjay.